late.
I'm here for the droid!
Come and take it.
Star Wars sound design. That is what we're talking about today, guys. We're getting into the nitty-gritty with coming up with sound design and working with the audio for a cool little Star Wars sequence here that our buddy Casey Ferris put together. So I've teamed up with Casey. We're kind of working on this project together a little bit, and I'm gonna tackle some of the audio and sound design stuff for this. And you guys can get all the files, all the video files, all of the graphics, everything that you need, all of the audio files, the sound effects, everything I'm going to use in this video, you guys can get for free from Casey. A link to his video and where you can pick up all these files down in the description. Head on over there, you can pick everything up for free, and then you can follow along with us here as we get down and dirty with sound design for this cool little Star Wars sequence. So where are we starting with this sound design? What we have to start with here is a timeline that Casey provided for me where we can import it into Resolve, and then we're gonna see where we start, okay? So let's do that first. Let's import our timeline into DaVinci Resolve and get started here working with our audio that we have already in the project, and then building up some cool sound design. So I am in DaVinci Resolve here, and I have a project that I created for our cool little Star Wars sound design, and I've already brought in the assets that Casey provides for you guys as well as for myself. We've got audio, footage, matte paintings, TIE fighters, VFX bakes, and then I created a timelines folder as well as a graphics folders because I was trying out some of his cool tips and tricks as well. So let's go ahead and import in this timeline that's got the project kind of roughed out, and then that's what we're going to use as our template to start designing the sound for this whole little scene. So I'm going to come in my timelines bin here in my media pool, right click, go timelines, import, and choose the top option here. Now right here is the timeline for Star Wars DRT. I'm going to go ahead and click import. So once that DRT file loads up, you might notice some of the things are media offline or seem to be they're missing. They're all there. You can just come to this window if it pops up for you and select folder right here. And then go ahead and pick your top level folder where you've put all this stuff and click open, and it should find everything for you. And right here, we're good to go. Now, if you didn't see that little pop-up menu, you can always click on the little link icon right up here. Should bring up this, and you should be able to find and relink all your files with no problem. So this is what our timeline looks like so far. So I'm going to use Shift-Z to zoom my whole timeline here. Let's go ahead and watch through this real quick, and you guys can see where we're starting with. And we do have two dialogue tracks currently. We have the Jedi, and we have the Sith. And then we've got a music track that's already in here. So let's watch through it, and then we're going to start talking about how do we start to work with our audio? What do we think about? I don't even know where to get started. So what do we do next? So let's watch this, and then we'll get into that.
I'm here for the droid!
Come and take it.
So that's where we're starting with. I think it looks really cool. If you want to know how to really start to put the project together, work with some of the VFX, because you might have noticed, hey, the TIE fighters have a blue background around it, and I don't see the lightsabers. Head on over and check out Casey's video because he shows you how to do all that stuff. It's really cool, super informative, and he gives you a lot of tips and tricks on how to start to put this together and make it look better than it currently does based on what you just saw. Because what we just saw is like a rough outline or a rough timeline of the project, and then you've got to go through and do all your cool VFX stuff and all that kind of stuff. So you want to check out Casey's video to see how to do that. But when it comes to the sound design, where are we starting with and what do we do next? So we've got two dialogue tracks. Taking a look in Resolve here, we've got our Sith dialogue track and we've got our Jedi dialogue track. We also have a music track in here. Now, one thing I noticed off the bat is that the dialogue seemed a little quiet and the music was a little loud, right? So while I'm playing through my video here in the Edit tab or in Fairlight, I like to watch my meters over here. And that's going to tell me, hey, are my sounds too loud or are they not loud enough? And when I got to parts like the dialogue, it was too quiet. So for example, if I come to the Sith dialogue here and I just solo the track, which means I'm only going to hear that one particular track, and I play through the clip here, watching the levels over here for my Sith track, let's see where our levels are at.
You're late.
All right, so it only came up to maybe, what's that, minus 22 dB? A little quiet. I like to get my dialogue up to around minus 10 dB, at least as a starting point, and then we can always kind of change it a little bit from there, but that's where I'd like to start with it. So I can do this part right here in the Edit tab. I'm going to use my Option or Alt and my middle mouse wheel here to scroll in and zoom in on my timeline. And I'm just going to come onto the clip and I'm going to make it a little bit louder or increase the gain of the clip a little bit. There's a few ways that you can do it, both in Fairlight as well as right here in the Edit tab. We could select our clip, and if we have our gain line right here, you should see a little white line. You can push that up and pull it down. And if you have your inspector open, you'll notice the volume in my inspector is moving the same as the white line on the clip because they correspond to each other. They're essentially the same thing. Now you can also adjust the volume for your particular track if you use the faders over here in your mixer. Now I like to adjust the levels on the clip itself first, and this goes for dialogue, music, sound effects, any kind of audio. Adjust it to a good spot on the clip itself first, and then after the fact, when I'm trying to blend everything together and get all the sounds to sound good together, especially when it comes to sound design, that's when I'll go ahead and use the faders to blend everything together and make adjustments that way. But for my initial pass, I like to make sure my clips are in a good spot by watching my meters and adjusting the level of the specific clip itself. So in this case, I'm going to say let's boost this up to 10 dB. Go up to 10. If you hold your Shift key, it's going to allow you to raise that gain line a little more precisely. Versus if I let go of my Shift key, it moves a whole lot more. So I'm going to come down around 10 dB, 10.05, close enough. And let's see where our meter is telling us that the volume or the levels for this clip is.
You're late.
All right, so we're just below 10 dB. That's good. I'm going to go with that for now. I'm going to scroll over and do the same thing for the other clip that's in this track. I want to see where it's at, so let's watch our meters and play through.
Come and take it.
Okay, so it looked a little low there. Now here's a quick tip. If we are trying to listen to something over and over again, we want to loop the playback, right? Just so we can hear it over and over without having to click in our timeline and come over and redo and hit spacebar and all that. So we can do that by selecting an in point, by selecting I. Go to where we want the loop to stop, select an out point. And then up here, we've got the loop icon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, bring my playhead back to the beginning. Now you can hit the space bar and you should just be able to play through your clip and it should loop over and over again for you. So I'm going to watch my meters and see where the levels are currently falling for the dialogue here.
Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it.
All right, that's not too bad. Maybe I'll boost it up just a little bit. We can see it was already boosted a little bit by whoever worked on the timeline before. So I'm just going to go ahead and boost it up maybe another 2 dB. We'll go around 12.5-ish. Let's see how that sounds.
Come and take it. Come and take it.
All right, so we are around minus 10 dB. I'm happy with that. Now we do have another dialogue track here. So I'm going to make my tracks a little bigger. Use my middle mouse button to pan over. We have the Jedi right here. So I'm going to, again, set my in points and out points. Got my loop icon on. Now I'm going to play through this and see where my levels fall on my meters. Then we're going to make an adjustment if we need to. And it helps if you unsolo your one track and solo the track you actually want to hear.
Here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
All right, so we do notice he's getting a little loud. He's getting up there almost peaking, so we're going to have to adjust that a little bit. But let me just take another look.
I'm here for the droid.
All right, so most of the dialogue is in a good spot. I think I'm happy with that. We're going to work on the louder part there when we jump over into Fairlight here. So I'm going to just leave that where it is. I think it's okay for now. Now, when it comes to the music, we're going to work with that in Fairlight a little bit because it could use a little bit of adjusting just to make the dialogue sit within the music a little bit better so you can hear the dialogue a little bit better. And we're going to take a look at how we do that in a minute. But for now, let's jump over into Fairlight. Musical notes at the bottom. Now, we're going to be spending most of our time here in Fairlight, and I want to make sure you guys are seeing exactly what I'm seeing. So I'm going to come up to Workspace at the top. I'm going to come down to Reset UI Layout. And this is where we're starting with, so if you guys see something different, reset that UI layout, and we should be looking at the same thing now. So one thing that I noticed when I listened to the Jedi clip here, and I'm going to zoom in my timeline, you can either use your sliders right here, or you can use your Option or Alt key, your middle mouse wheel to zoom in a little bit. is that this Jedi dialogue, it sounded like it could use a little bit of work. So I'm going to loop this again, listen to it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think we need to fix. Listen to what you hear and see what you think we need to fix. So I'm going to turn on my looping icon right here. I've already set my in points and out points in the edit tab, and they carry through into Fairlight. Now I'm just going to hit the space bar and it's going to loop it for us.
I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
All right, so it's definitely a little too loud at the end, I hear. And then it sounds like it's a little, I don't know, it could use a little bit of EQ, and we're going to find where that problem is here. So I'm going to actually make this a little bit smaller so it loops a little bit quicker there. Now I'm going to use the EQ on the track level here because there's only one clip in this track, and if there were, multiple recordings in this location, we'd want the same EQ for all of the clips. But in this case, I'm going to use the track level EQ because there's only one clip there, and you've got more ability to make changes and more points to work with in the track level EQ than you do if you're using the little EQ that comes in the inspector for a specific clip. So in order to do that, I'm going to select my track here, and then I can tell which one is in my mixer. If you don't see your mixer at the top right here, make sure that's open. And our Jedi dialogue right here, we're going to go ahead and open up the EQ. Before we do that, I actually want to change the order of the way in which the processing will happen to the clip. For me, I like to come up to order up here, and I like to use EQ, dynamics, then effects. The reason I like to do it in that order is that I want the EQ to fix any problems, I want the dynamics to balance things out a little bit, and then I want to add any effects. If I were to add effects onto dialogue first before I took care of any problems, it might accentuate those problems and make them worse. So I like to take care of things in that order: EQ, dynamics, then effects. So I'm going to double click my EQ. And now the way the EQ works here is it looks a little intimidating, but it's not as hard as you might think. The easiest way to find where problem areas might be is to grab a point like number 3 or 4 here and just bring it up like this and sweep it back and forth. And when you hear something that sounds harsh to your ear, it doesn't sound good, that's where you know there's a little bit of a problem, and we probably want to make a cut like this. Now you can use your middle mouse wheel to make that point a little bit more narrow so it affects less frequencies, or you can scroll out and allow it to affect more frequencies. So I like to kind of narrow it down a little bit. And if you look down here under my band 3, the Q factor. So the Q factor essentially says how many frequencies do you want me to effect? A little bit or a lot? So I'm going to go a little bit. Now I'm going to loop through my clip here and just look for any problem areas.
I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
So you can hear that little bit of distortion there. That's how we know there's a problem area right there. And one of the things that was added in Resolve 19 here, currently in beta, is the ability to see our little frequency analyzer on there, which can help you find problem areas. If you see something peaking up, it's a good chance it might be a little bit of an issue there. You can drop down that frequency a little bit. So I'm going to drop this frequency down. I can either grab it and pull it straight down by just grabbing the point, or I can use the gain line here and ensure I come straight down when I'm trying to lower that frequency. So let's play through it and see what happens when we drop down this frequency.
I'm here for the droid. 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 I'm here for the droid.
So I'm going to just drop it a little bit. You don't have to drop it a lot. You drop it too much, it's going to make it sound a little weird. So now I'm going to grab 0.4 and I'm going to look for the same kind of thing. Do I hear any other problem areas? I'm going to boost it up a little bit, and I do like to use the bell-shaped curve, which is this guy right here. So you can change any one of these bands here to be that bell-shaped curve. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit narrower, middle mouse wheel there, and I'm just going to sweep around and see if I hear anything that sounds a little harsh.
I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
All right, so that cleans that up a little bit. Now, the other thing I like to do with dialogue is get rid of the low-end frequencies, because for dialogue, we don't need any of these low-end frequencies. In order to do that, all you have to do is turn on band 1 and roll this guy up to, say, 120 hertz. Now, we do have some new features here where we can select how quickly it drops down the frequencies that are below our point here. So you can choose what you'd like. I'd recommend probably for dialogue somewhere between the 12 and the 18. You can pick which one might work for you. Let's play through it and see if we hear a difference.
I'm here for the droid. 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 I'm here.
Okay, so not too much of a difference, but you can see on our frequency analyzer there that there is some noise down there, and by putting on this band 1, we're going to get rid of that, which doesn't seem like it's causing too much of an issue right now, but as we start to add sound and build out our sound design, there could be conflicts between that lower end frequencies later on. So you're better off just making a little cut there with band 1. It's called a high pass filter because we're going to make a cut, and anything that's higher than it will pass through. So I think that's a good spot where we're at. Now I'm going to try with our 0.5 here, just leaving it how it is. I'm going to just give it a little boost and see if we need to do that and see how it sounds.
Here for the droid. I'm 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 here for the droid.
All right, so I'm going to do just a little boost there, which will increase the clarity just a little bit. Again, this is some subtle stuff here, but let's do a quick before and after. No EQ and then EQ.
Droid. I'm here for the 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 droid.
Can you hear the difference there? Now, the other thing you may want to do, depending on your situation, is use a band 6 and just take out any of those high-end frequencies that may just creep in there that we don't need for dialogue. So I can just dial that back, and you can always watch the frequency analyzer as you're playing through your clip and see where you should put that.
I'm here for the droid. 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 I'm here for the...
All right, so I think that's pretty good. I like the way that that's sounding so far. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the Sith dialogue. So I'm going to close the EQ for this track. I'm going to come to this part here. I'm going to set an in point I, out point O. And now I'm going to solo out the Sith dialogue track. I'm going to open up my EQ for Sith right here. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to do it a little bit quicker here in one pass. But now you guys kind of understand what I'm looking for and why I'm making the changes that I'm making. So let me loop through this. We're going to make a few adjustments here. Then we'll do a quick before and after. Tell me what you guys think.
Come and take it. 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 Come and take it.
Okay, so here's what I've got going on so far. I removed some of the real low-end stuff. Now this voice is a little darker and a little thicker, which is why I created a little boost on point number 2 here around 230 hertz, because I wanted to make it sound a little thicker, right? Because it's already a deep voice. It's supposed to have that full deep sound to it. So I created a little boost around that 230 hertz. I made a little cut around 462 where it seemed like there was a little issue. Again, another little cut, a little over 2K. Then a slight boost to add a little bit of like that little extra, I'm going to call it accent to some of the sounds. And then I got rid of the real high stuff because, again, we don't need that for dialogue. So let's do a quick before and after here.
Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it. Come and take it.
Now that hard T sound in there, that's up to you if you like it or if you don't. That's kind of I would say it's a creative choice. Do you want to hear that or do you not? I'm going to leave it how it is for now, and I think we're in a pretty good spot for the EQ on the Sith track here. But I do like how it filled it out and made it sound a little bit fuller there. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Now, while I have this Sith track dialogue here soloed out, I want to add a little dynamics and a little bit of compression. So I'm going to come over to my Sith track, and I do notice I forgot to swap my order here. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap the order to EQ, Dynamics, then Effects. Open up the Effects. Now in here, we want to turn on the compressor. So what the compressor is going to do is just kind of balance things out a little bit. Now, this is fairly balanced as it is. It's really not that bad. You may not even need the compressor, but we're going to play through here, make a few adjustments, and then I'm going to explain to you what I did and why.
Come and take it. 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 Come and take.
Okay, so what I did was I turned on the compressor. We set a threshold around minus 17 dB. I like to use a ratio for dialogue around 2.5. 2 to 2.5 seems to work out pretty good. I can tell that I'm getting a little bit of reduction on just the peaks that might be a little bit, louder than the rest of it by looking at this middle column right here. And if I just mute the audio here and do the playback, we can see we're getting just a little bit of reduction, right? Nothing major, just a little bit. And it's keeping us around that minus 10 without going too high over it. Now, I did decide to turn on the expander here, and what that's going to do is reduce some of that lower end, I'm going to call it background noise, right, in the background. We don't want it to be completely dry, but we could drop it down a little bit because it's just going to get in the way, or it could get in the way a little bit later. So I'm pretty happy with this. Now let's go back to the Jedi track and do the same thing over there and apply a little bit of compression. So coming over to my Jedi track, I'm going to set an in point and an out point. We've got our looping on. Now, this is where we're going to be able to take care of this part of the clip right here, which was a little bit louder. By using the dynamics, we're going to be able to say, hey, don't let that get so loud. We want to keep it consistent with the rest of the dialogue there. Because a compressor essentially says, if we need to make the quiet parts a little louder, we'll do that. And if we need to make the loud parts a little bit quieter, we'll do that. And it's like taking the dynamic range and reducing it down a little bit for a more consistent listening experience. So let's go ahead and open up our dynamics. I'm going to go ahead and solo just my Jedi track, and here we go.
Droid! I'm here for the 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 droid!
Okay, so you can see we were getting a little bit of reduction there on our compressor, taking care of that part that gets a little bit louder than the rest of it. I did turn on the expander here, and it just helps lower the volume of that background noise a little bit, right? So let's just play through a quick before and after dynamics. You can hear the difference. And so you can actually hear the what the expander's doing there. Let me make this a little bit bigger.
I'm here for the droid! I'm here for the droid! I'm here for the droid!
And we can see on our meter, it's a little more consistent there too. So as far as the levels going up and down there. Now I did boost the makeup a little bit. So that's just going to say, hey, let's take everything and boost it up a little bit, make the quiet parts a little bit louder. And that's what the makeup is going to do for you there. So depending on your clip, you may need it, you may not. It's up to you to make that decision. So I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and close that down. So now that our dialogue is in a pretty good spot, let's go ahead and see how it sits within our music. And then we're going to be getting into the actual sound design of designing all the other cool sounds around our dialogue and our music track. So let's go ahead and clear out our in and out points by using Option or Alt X. I'm going to zoom my entire timeline by Shift Z. And I'm just going to start somewhere around here and let's see what we've got. I have to unsolo my Jedi track, and here we go.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid!
Come and take it.
Okay, so what do we notice about our music track? Well, one, when we get to our first dialogue piece, it's not too bad. Like, it's okay. They don't compete too much. But on our second dialogue piece right here from the Jedi, the music's a little loud. It kind of overpowers his speech a little bit. In the last one here, same thing, and then it gets very loud at the end. We could see in our meters that it was almost peaking. So take a look at our meters when I play through this last section right here. So it doesn't peak because we don't see these top level lights getting lit up. So there must have been a limiter when this music was created that like it went all the way up to it, hit it, and like that held the levels where they were at. So it's a little bit loud there. So we can make some adjustments here. Maybe I want to start by lowering my volume just a little bit. Now there's a bunch of different ways that we can do it. With this particular clip, I think I would just use a couple quick keyframes just to lower certain sections of the music just a little bit. So if I zoomed in on my timeline here using Shift and my middle mouse wheel, make it a little bigger. What I'm thinking is if we come And at the start of our dialogue clip, I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe. And in order to do that, you need to see your gain line. If you don't see your gain line, you can come on up to your timeline view options here. Make sure display gain line is turned on. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see your video tracks, you can say display video tracks right here just to help you line things up a little bit better. That comes in handy as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a keyframe by holding my Option or Alt key and hovering my mouse over that gain line and just clicking. And then I'm going to go ahead a little bit. I'm going to add another one. Move my playhead forward a little, maybe like here. Add another one. And now what I'm going to do is just drop this down just a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 dB. Let's see how that sounds.
I'm here for the droid.
Okay, I almost think maybe it's a little too loud after it too. So if I lower down after it, again, holding my Shift key to be a little more precise, lower that down by, say, minus 3.3. I'm going to lower the part underneath the Jedi a little bit more. Say maybe 6. Let's see how that sounds.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, so that's not too bad. That's a good start. I do think we need to drop it down a little bit where the Sith guy talks a little. So again, I'm just going to add a couple quick keyframes. I'm going to drop it down just a little bit, and then maybe I'll have it come back up just a little bit as it gets towards the end of that clip to really build up that sound. So let's just hear how this is sounding together so far.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, so not too bad. I think that's a good place to start. Now, there is a few things we could do to the music track here to help make some space for our dialogue. One of those is using the EQ. So I'm going to go ahead, come to my music track. I'm going to change the order of operations here, or order of signal flow is what it really is, to EQ Dynamics and Effects. Go ahead and open up the EQ. Now on the EQ, what I'd like to do with my music tracks is make a cut in the, say, 800 to 2K range, because that's where you're going to hear a lot of the dialogue, right? So what I'll do is just take 0.4, I'll lower it down somewhere around here, use my middle mouse wheel to make it a little bit bigger, and now let's hear the difference here in what this sounds like.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
So I think that makes a big difference. Let me just show you a quick before and after here. Let's go with these last two voices here. So here's the before.
I'm here for the droid.
Okay, now let's hear the after.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
So could you hear the difference there, right? It kind of cuts out and carves out a nice section for the dialogue to live in. Now, I might even want to boost the highs just a wee bit. So I think that's pretty good for the music. I'm going to leave that where it's at now. Now, there is an effect I like to add on music sometimes, and let's see how it sounds here. I want to come to my music track, effects, spatial, Fairlight effects, and stereo width. What I like to do is just spread out that music a little bit so it sounds like it's coming from around you a little bit more. I think it'd be kind of cool. So I can increase the width as well as the diffusion. And you don't even have to know what these dials do here. You can actually just come to the presets and go to max separation. See how that sounds.
I'm here for the droid.
Okay, so that's not too bad. Now, if I wanted to lower the music track just a little bit, now's when I might come in to the fader and just drop that fader back a little bit. And that's going to lower the volume of everything on the track. I don't have to change my keyframes or do anything like that. I can just change the fader for the music and we're good to go.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, so we've got our dialogue set, we've got our music set. Now let's get into our sound effects. So I'm gonna zoom all the way on my timeline, Shift Z. I'm gonna use my Shift key and my middle mouse wheel to scroll up a little bit. Now we need to add a whole bunch of tracks here because I like to have sound effects kind of in their own track unless they're very similar. That way we've got more options on how we can work with our sound effects. So I'm gonna come over in Fairlight here to my tracks. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna say add tracks. That's going to pop this up for me, and I'm going to say, let's add, I don't know, let's start with 5 tracks below music, and they can be stereo tracks. That's just fine. So go ahead and say add tracks. Now, I like to keep track of all my sound effects and name the tracks instead of having them the default settings here. I'm going to call them sound effects 1, sound effects 2, 3, 4, and so on for as many tracks as I need. So I've got my 5 sound effects tracks here, FX 1 through 5, and let's just get started here. So I'm going to mute the music for right now. I want to make the top a little bigger here so I can kind of see my viewer. And actually, if you want, you can pop out the viewer by clicking on this little icon. It's going to pop it out for you, make it a little bit bigger and a little bit easier to see. And now let's just start to look at the video here a little bit in the beginning and see what we might want to do with our sound design. Now, keep in mind, you should have all of the sound design assets that we're going to use. So if I come to my media pool and open that up, and you go to your audio folder, we've got all the different sound effects in here that we might need. So if I just make the list, we've got our droids, we've got footsteps, we got forest sounds, we got all kinds of things that we're going to need to be able to kind of build out the sound design here. So you guys can follow along with all of the same assets. So let's watch a little bit of the beginning here, and what do we got? Okay, first thing we have here, we have the TIE fighters flying in. So we do have a sound effect for the TIE fighters. It's called TIE Flyby, and here's what that sounds like. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. So I'm going to drag and drop it into my timeline here. And if you want, as you go through your sound effects here, you can name them whatever you want. Like for this one, I know it's going to be the TIE Fighter in here, so I could change this to TIE Fighter. And notice I call it TIE Fighter 1, because what I notice is there are 3 TIE Fighters in this clip here. So I think I'm going to make a sound effect for each one of them. So let's go ahead and move this where it's just off screen a little bit, where it starts flying in. And a quick note here, you can do a lot of this initial stuff of setting things up and designing the sound right in the Edit tab. You don't have to do it here in Fairlight. It would be the same process and the same thing in the Edit tab. And maybe we'll jump over there. I'll show you how to do it over there a little bit too. But we're just starting here in Fairlight because I love me Fairlight. It's awesome. So let's take a look and see where these guys first come onto the screen. It's going to be right here. So what I like to do is have the start of the sound be somewhere right around there. So I'm going to zoom in on my timeline a little bit, and I'm just going to watch it and see if it makes sense with how these TIE fighters are coming in. All right, not too bad. Now I feel like its timing's off a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is actually have multiple instances of this particular sound effect. So I'm going to use my Option or Alt key to select my sound effect, drag it down, and I've got a copy of it. So what I'd like to do is have it sound like it's starting a little bit before that. I'm going to make it a little bit quieter too. Maybe, I don't know, minus 12 dB, something like that. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, not bad. Let's move this over just a little bit. I can use my period and comma keys when I have a clip selected to just bump it left and right a little bit. So I do have 3 TIE fighters here, so I think I want 3 instances of this sound effect. So again, I'm going to Option or Alt, drag down into the track below that, and I'm going to rename my tracks TIE Fighters 2 and 3. And I did stagger them a little bit, right? Because I want them to sound a little different. I don't want to just stack up the sounds. I do want it to sound a little bit different. So let's see how this is looking so far. All right, I'm going to bump over the middle one, bump back the other one a little. Lower the volume of this guy just a little bit. I'm going to actually open up my meters here so I can just kind of see where my sound effects are as far as levels. And for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and close my media pool because I'm running out of little space on the screen here. But let's just play through and see where our levels are falling for our TIE Fighter tracks. All right. All right, now let's throw on the music, just see how it sounds all together here. All right, that's kind of cool. I'm digging that, so I think we're going to go with that. Now, one thing that I do notice is that what if I want to adjust the volume of all these guys together? I want to make them all a little louder or all a little bit quieter. Well, it's a little tricky to do this. I could come to my faders now and boost them up here and balance them out a little bit. But let's say maybe I already balanced them and I want to adjust them all together. I don't want to have to adjust each one individually anymore. I want to do it once with one slider. And we can do that by using a bus. A bus is essentially a group of tracks, right? We can send tracks to a bus. So maybe I have like 3 tracks over here. I can send it to one bus and make changes, whether it's effects, volume, dynamics. We can make the change once on the bus and it's going to affect everything inside of it. So let's set that up. So I'm going to come to Fairlight at the top, bus format. We'll get this window right here. We want to come to add a bus. I'm going to rename it and call it TIE Fighters. I want it to be a stereo bus, and you can change it to whatever color you want. I'm going to go with tan and hit OK. So now I want to send these 3 tracks over to that bus. So in order to do that, I'm going to come into my mixer over here. And if I scroll down with my middle mouse wheel on my mixer, right now, under the bus outputs, we can see our TIE Fighter 1, 2, and 3 are all getting sent to our bus 1, which is our main output from DaVinci Resolve. But we want it to go to our TIE Fighters bus. So I'm going to just come to the bus output here, click the little drop down, and I'm going to change it to TIE Fighters. All right, there we go. Now, if I play through it, we don't hear anything because while our tracks are getting sent to our bus isn't going anywhere over here just yet. So if I just expand this, make it a little bigger so we can see it, TIE Fighters, we need to send that to our main output. So again, under bus outputs, we're going to hit the plus and choose bus 1. So now we should hear all of our TIE Fighters. And what's cool is I can still adjust the tracks individually if I want to by coming over here and adjusting the faders or an effect or dynamics or whatever I want to do. So let's just say maybe the 1 is a little loud. I want to drop him back a little. But now I can adjust the overall volume with just using this one fader over here in the bus. Check this out. Pretty sweet, right? So one thing that I'm thinking with these TIE Fighters is maybe I want to add a little bit of delay or echo to the sound effects just to have it echo out a little bit, right? And I can do that on the main bus, do it once, and it's going to apply to everything, all 3 TIE Fighter tracks in that main bus. So let's just scroll up in our bus here. I'm going to come to my effects section right here. Click on the plus. I'm going to come to delay, Fairlight effects, and let's try a little echo on there and see what that sounds like. All right, so maybe that's a little much, right? There's a couple ways I can make changes. I can select the drop down here and select a preset. You know, the long haul here is a little bit less than what the default was. So let's hear how that sounds. All right, not bad. Now, if you like this setting, you can increase or decrease the amount of the effect by using the wet dry mix here. So if I crank this all the way up, here's what that sounds like. And you can hear it kind of ring out there. And I might actually adjust these a little bit, make them a little closer together. All right, so that's a little much. So I can just double click on any knob here and reset the effect. Now you can change the delay feedback or the time if you want, or just select one of the presets. Maybe you like swirling close. Let's try that. All right, that's not too bad. I think I'm going to go back to the large hall, though. Crank it up just a little bit, and I'm just going to leave it like that. So now we've got an effect applied to all 3 of our TIE Fighter tracks. It sounds kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and leave that where it's at. The other thing I'm thinking is, what if I want the sounds to be a little bit different between the TIE Fighters? Because they all kind of sound the same. Here's another little trick that you can do. If I come to, let's say, the second one here, TIE Fighter 2, I want to apply an effect onto that track. I want to change the pitch or the frequency, the sound of that TIE Fighter. Couple ways you can do it. You can add in effects in the effects library, or in the edit tab, or right here in Fairlight, you can open up your inspector and just change the pitch. So you can grab your semitones. I'm going to drop it down just a little bit, make it a little bit lower pitched. Let's see how that sounds. So you can hear the ones a little bit lower, right? If I solo this track. And if I boost the semitones up a little, might sound like it's going a little faster with the higher pitch sound there. So maybe I'll just drop it back like 1. And maybe I'll make the last one. I'll just select that last TIE Fighter clip. I'll just boost that one up a little bit. Boost it up 1. Just so they're a little bit different, we've got a little bit of variation. So I'm going to go ahead and close my inspector. Now, the other thing that you do a lot of times with sound effects is just fade it in and fade it out. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little fade on all these guys. Now, how much you fade it is up to you, depending on your particular sound effect, but I'm just going to pop a little fade in on these guys. All right, let's hear how it's sounding. So another thing that I notice here with our TIE Fighters is that the sound doesn't quite match the speed at which these guys are flying across the screen here. So if I watch it, it looks like the sound is a little bit faster than the TIE Fighters are going. Here's just one solo track. So what I want to do is I want to actually slow down these clips a little bit. So I can come and right click on my clip and come to Elastic Wave. And I'm going to say General Purpose. Going to zoom in on my clips a little bit. And if I hover over, once I choose the Elastic Wave, if I hover over my clip, you're going to see that little symbol there. And I can click, hold, and drag and stretch out that clip, right? So let's say my TIE Fighters, right? Maybe I want the loudest part, right? Maybe there. And I could just stretch it out a little bit. So let's just bump it over a frame or 2, stretch it out, and see how that sounds. So I think that's a little bit better. So I might actually take these other 2 and just stretch them out as well. But I have to select the clip, right click, and choose Elastic Wave. And in general, I'm going to choose the general purpose here, unless you're working with a voice. But general purpose for most cases is okay, especially when it comes to sound effects. I'm going to stretch that out a little bit by getting that symbol on the end, stretch it out. And same with my last clip here, right click, Elastic Wave, general purpose. Stretch it out a little bit. And let's just see how that's all sounding together. So I think that sounds a lot better. It fits a little bit better with everything that's going on and how it looks like it's coming across the screen. So I think that's a good start for our TIE Fighters. So let's take a look at our media pool and see what else we have here as far as sound effects. So maybe we want to add in a little atmosphere now, right? Before we get into adding too much other stuff. So let's see what we have for atmosphere. We've got wet farmlands atmosphere. And if I just double click it, here's what it sounds like. Okay, so kind of like bird-like and field-like. What else do we have in here? We have a forest, so I'm going to see what that sounds like. That sounds Star Wars-ish to me. We've got some footsteps. So we've got these 2 guys. So let's pop our viewer back in here. I'm going to make my mixer a little bit smaller here. I think I'm actually just going to turn off the meters at the moment just to make a little more space. I'm going to come down and in our sound effects track number 4, I'm going to call this Atmosphere 1. And sound effects 5, I'm going to name Atmosphere 2. Okay, so I'm going to drop the forest in 1. And I'm going to drop the farmlands in another. And let's see what we can do here. So it sounds like the atmosphere, the farmlands one, is a mono recording, so it's only coming out of 1 channel. Now we could fix it, or the easiest way is to just select our track, right click, and change the track type to mono, because for something like this, I think a mono track is going to be just fine. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can hear what we got going on. Let's just play these 2 guys and see how they're sounding together. I'm also going to watch my meters here. I'm going to scroll over so I can see these 2 tracks. Atmosphere 1 and 2. Let's see what we got. Okay, so off the bat, when this was being recorded, seems like there's a little mic noise there, so I'm going to cut that out. I'm just going to select my clip, make a cut, drag it back. Now let's see where our levels are at for our Atmosphere 1 track. Okay, and at the end, I'm just going to bring this in and I'm going to fade it out. I think that'll work okay. We've got it faded in a little bit. Now, I'm okay with where the levels are at. I can always adjust it here using my faders, which should work out just fine. Now, let's check out our Atmosphere 2, see what that sounds like. All right, that's okay for the moment. I'm going to fade it in, fade it out a little bit. Let's go ahead and open our meters back up so we can see our visual. I'm going to pop out my window here. Let's just play through this with all the tracks going just to see how it's kind of starting to come together. I'm going to open up my mixer so I can make some adjustments, maybe to those two atmospheres, right here and here, as we're playing back. And let's just see what we got.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
Okay, so not too bad there. I did drop down the atmosphere levels a little bit there on the faders, and that's when I like to use the faders. It's to kind of blend things and mix things together a little bit. So I think the atmosphere 1 and 2, that sounded pretty good. So let's get back into working with our sound design here. So we've got our TIE fighters in there. And what do we have coming up next in the scene? We have this guy walking, the Jedi walking. So we're going to want to use footsteps to kind of match up with where he's walking. So I'm going to back it up here. Let's see. So he stops. I'm going to find out where he stops walking. So last step is right there. Now let's go ahead and listen to our footsteps here and see what those are sounding like. Footsteps, muddy grass. Running, and we have footsteps walking. So let's listen to walking. All right, so I noticed when I'm listening to the sound effects that was recorded, they actually stop right here. So that's going to be where I want my sound effect to stop because it seems like it's going to match up with the Jedi walking. So I'm going to press O for the out point right up here in my little viewer. It's going to set an out point for me. I'm just going to come back a little bit and select an in point just so I've got some part of the clip to work with here. So I need to add some new tracks here, right? Because we're running out of space already. So if I hold shift and zoom a little bit, we can work with or shrink down our timeline a little. So after the TIE fighter, I'm going to add in these guys. I'm going to say add a track. Stereo, and we're going to call this SFX steps. So now I'm just going to come to my little audio viewer here in the media pool, drag and drop it down into my timeline. So I know where he stopped walking is where I stopped the video. That's where my playhead is at. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to solo just the footsteps track. So he stops there. And I'm actually going to, it's hard to see the waveforms here, so I'm going to make it a little bit louder just to see it. Or if you held your shift and option key, you can actually zoom the waveforms where it won't change the sound, it just makes the waveforms bigger like this. So now the waveforms are big, I can see it, but listen, it's still pretty quiet. And I can make it louder if I use the gain line. But you got to be careful when you zoom in on the waveforms like that. You may want to make sure you reset it because you don't want it to throw you off. So if I select my clip, right click, I can come down to the bottom here, track Waveform Zoom, and I want to reset all tracks. And that's just going to make sure that the waveform isn't zoomed so that I'm not getting thrown off when I'm actually raising the gain or the volume of the clip versus just making the lines look bigger and zooming in on the line so I can see it better. So I'm just going to boost the volume here. So when he stops walking, let's just stop it there again. So he's right there. So let's zoom in on our sound effect. I'm going to bring this a little forward here. See if that sounds right. I think that sounds pretty good, actually. And we do notice now it's only coming through as one channel, right? We don't hear both. We could go ahead and make it a mono track, but we'll take care of that in a second here. Let's get our timing right for this clip first. So where does he start walking, right? He starts, if we roll back the tape here, right here, we can barely see his head in there. So I'm going to extend out this clip. Let's say just before there. Now I'm going to fade it in so that by the time we see him here, yeah, that looks pretty good, that we hear him walking. So let's hear how that sounds. All right, not too bad. It's definitely too loud. I'm going to lower that down a little bit. Going to check out our levels here. All right, not too bad. Now, if I select my clip, and right click and we come to clip attributes, we can see that our clip was actually recorded as a mono clip. But if I come over here in a format and I change it to a stereo, now we've got two tracks. We've got an audio, a left and a right channel. And you notice one channel is muted because it was recorded as a mono track, but I could change it to the same thing, embedded channel 1. And now when I play it, you'll see we have two tracks for right and left channels, and we can actually hear it right and left channels, stereo. So not too bad. Now we could add just a little bit of a pan there because I think that could be kind of cool. So I'm going to fade the end of the clip there. Let's just close the media pool, get ourselves a little bit of room here. And I'm just going to add a slight pan. So I'm going to select my clip, move my viewer out of the way. I'm going to open the inspector. I'm going to come in. I'm going to pan it to the left a little bit. I'm going to hit a keyframe. And then I'm going to go ahead till he's about in the middle right there where he stops. And I'm going to want that to be at, let's say, just past very center. Just because why not? Let's hear how that sounds. So not super noticeable. Now if we wanted to change it even more, we could go back and just push it to the left a little bit more. All right, not too bad. I'm going to lower that volume down just a little bit. And then we're going to work with our faders to blend it all together in a little bit. But I think that's pretty good for our footsteps so far. So what's the next part of our video here? If we watch forward a little bit. All right, so we've got the droid here. We've got our lightsabers. So let's open up our media pool. Let's see, we've got droid. I know there's a droid. Here he is. What does that sound like?
This is VFX Droid Plate. Take one.
Action.
All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to set an in point because that sounds good. I'm going to move ahead just a little bit, set an out point. And now we're going to need another track here. So I'm going to add a track by going to where my sound effect steps are. Add a track, stereo. We're going to call this SFX Droid. I'm going to drop that down in there. And now we'll notice too, this was also recorded as just a mono track. Now we could leave it as mono if we want. If I move ahead in the scene, he's kind of in the middle anyway. So this one is probably fine to just make it a mono track, right? I'm going to right click on there, change track type to mono. And let's just see what that looks like. Helps if I unsolo my steps. And actually I'm going to close some of these windows down here. It's hard to see. Sometimes you get a little crowded here in your resolve window, you know what I mean? So let's scroll down. Let's see, where does the droid actually come in? I'm going to use my arrow keys to get to the exact point. But what I want to do is actually, I want to hear the droid before I get to the shot, right? It's almost like creating J and L cuts, right? I want to hear him before I get to the shot. So I'm going to put a little bit of the sound before. I'm going to extend this out. I'm going to fade it in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to back it up just a little bit more, fade it in a little more. Let's see how this works out. Going to make him a little bit louder there. Okay, close the fade a little bit less. So I think I like how this part is a little bit, there we go. Do that. I'm going to fade it a little bit this way. Change the fade amount just a little bit. Let's see what we got.
You're late.
Now I can decide if I want to extend the droid out a little more. Let's see what we got here. All right, I'm going to just come back to my media pool here because I want to see if there's a part where the droid sounds like it's excited or something when that guy brings out the lightsaber. So let's just, I don't know, listen to a little bit of it. That part wasn't too bad. All right, so I like this little part right here. Go in and out. Bring that into the timeline so that when he throws out his lightsaber, we're going to make this guy sound a little like, whoa, hey, lightsaber. I'll bring this back.
I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, not too bad, not too bad. I think we're getting somewhere. So let's just watch this from the beginning. Just kind of see what it's feeling like, what it's looking like. And then we're going to move on to adding some more sound effects. So let's check this out.
You're late.
All right, so not too bad. I did notice, for whatever reason, the TIE fighters, I thought we had set the pan to go from, left to right. I don't see that, so let's do that real quick. I'm going to select my TIE fighter, come back to the beginning. I'm going to set a pan key point, move it over, say 0.5, and then they're going to enter the screen here. We're going to pull it over a little bit, and actually, let's start it all the way to the left. And then as it comes forward, see it to 30. Around 34, that's fine. And then I'm going to come ahead to where it's, kind of in the center there. I'm going to say 0. And then as it continues off over to about here, we're going to push that over to say 40. All right, I like it. So I'm going to just do similar on the other TIE Fighter clips. So I'm going to come to the beginning here. I'm going to select my clip. I'm going to start with the pan all the way to the left. Kind of when they start coming on screen, move it over a little bit, center screen, bring that to 0. And then as they go off the screen, we're going to have that pan to the right. And do it again with our last clip here. And by here, they're gone. And let's hear how these guys sound together. All right, I'm liking that. I like the delay. It sounds good. I might actually just lower the music for the time being, just so we can hear everything else a little bit better. All right, the walking is sounding pretty good. What I think I might want to do is tweak that a little bit, but let's get the rest of our sound effects in here. Then we're going to do some fine tuning. And as you guys can see, this is not a fast process. It just takes time going through. Granted, if I'm not explaining it, you could do it a whole lot quicker. Just kind of crank through, a small scene like this. But it takes time and listening and thinking about what does that sound look like? How should it react with what's happening on screen? It's just a lot of little details that at the end of the day are going to make a big difference. So let's keep on working through here. Let's see, what do we have next? Let's take a look in our media pool, see what other effects we have here. We've got our lightsabers, right? So we know we've got some lightsabers coming up. So let's go ahead and close our inspector. Gonna make my meters a little smaller. Let's find where the lightsabers come up. So they're holding prop lightsabers, which if you go watch Casey's video, you'll see how to make it a real lightsaber. But right here is where Sith's lightsaber comes on.
8.
So we want to grab Sith light up, and that's what we're going to use for our lightsaber sound. Nice. So let's just drag and drop that into... Oh, we got to make a new track, actually, first. So I'm going to go ahead below the droid. I'm going to say add a track. We're going to call this Sith Saber. Drag and drop this in here. It's a little bigger. We want to line it up. So that's where they want it to come on. Going to use my my period and comma keys to bump that clip a little bit. Zoom in on my timeline so I see what's going on.
8.
All right, so I'm going to drop the volume of that just a little bit. Going to see where my levels are falling for this track. Sith Saber.
8. 8.
All right, so that's kind of cool. What I might like to do is throw a real fast pan on there, right? Where it's going from one direction to another. Just to see what that sounds like, because I think it could be kind of cool. So I'm going to select it, open my inspector. Again, we're going to do it with a fast pan. We're going to go, say, -50, set a keyframe. I'm going to come right on the other side of the light up. I'm going to go -50 the other way. And then I'm going to go ahead a few frames and bring it right back to center, which is 0. So this could sound kind of cool. You could also type in your numbers there. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm liking that. What do you guys think? All right, so I'm digging that. I like that. Now we have a part where the Jedi gets his lightsaber. So let's see. We have battle music. We've got Jedi light up. All right. Ramp to impact. What's this? All right, that sounded cool. So we have the Jedi light up, which is what we're going to use. I'm going to add in another track. We're going to go track stereo. We're going to go Jedi Saber. Okay. Going to add that into my track. Do the same thing I did before. I want to line up my video where his saber lights up, right? So he grabs it there. It looks like it'll light up here based on their markings in the video here. So I'm going to pull this guy forward a little bit. I'm going to use my period and comma keys to bump it. And let's see how it sounds. Okay, so we've got the whoop, the little whip sound there, which as soon as it starts to move, that's where I want the whip sound to go. So we're going to back this sound effect up. Let's see if we could do this here. So maybe it doesn't want to light at the exact moment. I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just cut this clip here, and I'm just going to bump over the light up just a little bit. A little bit of that, little fade there, little fade out slightly. Let's hear how that sounds. So maybe I'll bump that back a frame. I like it. All right, that's good.
I'm here for the droid.
Okay, now the other thing that I'm thinking with these lightsabers is when we are looking at this angle right here, right? We've got the Sith. He's kind of on the right-hand side of the frame, and our Jedi's on the left-hand side. So looking back to how we pan this, I think I might want to adjust it just a little bit, right? So for Sith's saber here, I'm going to open my inspector back up. We can close the mixer for the moment. I'm going to go back to my last point here where I brought it back to center, and I actually want to have it pan to the right a little bit because in the frame, he's actually towards the right a little bit. So I had it panned all the way at 50. So let's say I go to where I had it at 0. I'm going to bring it back to, say, 22. Let's see how that sounds. So now it sounds like he's off to the right a little bit because he is in frame. All right, so I'm going to lower down the volume just a wee bit of the Jedi Saber. For the whip, I'm going to pan it just to the left a little bit. We'll go 20. And then on the lightsaber here, I'm also going to do a pan just like we did in the beginning there. So I'm going to start right at the beginning. I'm going to pan it over to, say, minus 50. I'm going to come ahead to where it lights up. I'm going to pan it over to plus 50. And then I'm going to go ahead a few more frames, and I'm going to bring it back to, let's say maybe minus 22. So it sounds like it's on the left side of the frame. Let's see how that sounds.
I'm here for the droid.
All right, so that sounds pretty good. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. I like the way this is all coming together here. So let's just hear that whole little scene together and see how it's sounding.
You're late.
So the whip is a little fast here. I want to slow that down like we did with our earlier clip there. I'm going to zoom in the timeline. I'm going to back this up a little. Right click. Come down to elastic wave, general purpose. And I'm going to get that symbol. I'm going to stretch this guy out just a little bit. And let's see, where does it start to move? Say right there. Let me bump this ahead just a little bit. Take out our fade. Let's see, what does that sound like? I almost feel like it's got to go over just a touch. Let's try it.
I'm here for the droid.
All right, I'm liking that. So now we got to add in the hums of the lightsabers, right? Because they're still going on throughout the scene, right? So in the Sith Saber, I can add in our Saber Hum. So I'm just going to drag that and drop it in here. Let's see what that sounds like.
I'm here for the droid.
So when it cuts to the Sith, right there, I want that hum to come in, right? So I'm just going to make a cut and delete this part for right now. I may add it back in just for some of that ambience noise, but let's see where this is at right now.
Come and take it.
All right, so let's go to where that scene changes. Right there. I want to drag this sound effect out. Okay, so it looks like, oh, there we go. Nope. That's as much sound effect as we've got there. So what we're going to do is actually just make it longer. So while we do have a little more in the beginning here, so I can stretch this out. And actually, we might have enough here, so we don't have to extend it. So let's take a listen. I'm actually going to overlap the clips just a little bit with a little fade in there. And let's come ahead to the end of the clip. Okay, right there. I'm going to overlap. Oh, looks like we are just a little short. So what we can do is we can just extend this clip, right? So I'm just going to use Option or Alt to copy it, bring it over. And now I want to blend these together. So what I'm going to do is shorten up with the one clip, shorten up the other clip. I'm going to take the fade off, which it did come off there. I'm going to bring these together here, and I'm going to throw on a little crossfade. And this should just help blend these two clips together. So we're going to close our media pool, open our effects library, audio transitions, crossfade, drop that on there. Let's see how that sounds. Zoom out a little bit.
Droid.
Come and take it.
All right, so you did notice it dropped the sound, the volume a little bit there when it did the crossfade. So we could try the crossfade plus 3 dB. Let's see how that sounds. Now, it did still drop it down a little bit. I don't know why, but let's just go ahead and we're going to boost it up just a little bit. Okay, so let's get it right at the end of the scene here. Use my arrow keys right there. I'm going to make a cut. Delete the last little bit there. And I think that's a good place to start for the lightsaber for the Sith guy. So let's listen in.
Come and take it.
All right, so we also need to add in the hum for the Jedi's sword, right? So let's do that part.
I'm here for the droid.
All right, so let's close our effects library, open the media pool. We're going to come back to our audio, and we have the Jedi. We have the Jedi attack. So it doesn't look like we have a lightsaber for him. So let's hear what. Maybe we could just make it.
I'm here for the droid.
All right, so I'm going to make it. I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to copy this original light up file, copy it over. And then I'm just going to shorten it up here so that we've got just the lightsaber sound. And I do want them to overlap a little bit. So I'm going to drop this guy back. We'll put them together. And if I select both tracks here, and then I can hover over the gap between the two, right click, and we can add a crossfade. It's going to be the 0 dB, but that's all right. Let's do 24. Let's see how that sounds. Going to zoom out a little bit.
Here for the droid.
So now on this one, I actually do want to lower it a little bit. Bring it in. I'm going to fade it out, kind of like that.
Here for the droid.
Little fade on
The
the
droid.
Sith.
Come and take it.
All right, so that sounded kind of cool. So then we lead into the fight scene, right? And we do have the ramp to impact right here. Let's see what that sounds like. So let's drop that in. Let's see if we can get it right where their lightsabers hit. Just using my arrow keys, trying to find the right spot. So right, boom, right there is where I want the impact to be. I'm going to bring this back. See how that sounds. And I think I'm actually going to put this in its own track so that I can throw some effects on there. I want it to maybe like do an echo at the end or something like that. So I'm going to right click, add new track, stereo. We're going to call this SFX Impact. I'm going to just select my clip and use my Option or Alt plus the down arrow to drop it into a new track. All right, I'm liking that. That's good. That's good. Now, I might even want to make it a little bit louder. So I'm going to close my inspector. Let's open the mixer back up so I can see where my levels are falling for this particular clip. All right, I do like that. That sounded pretty good. So let's zoom out here and kind of see, well, how everything's coming together, right? We need to take a step back from time to time and see how everything's coming together. We can use our mixer here to adjust some levels and balance things a little bit. So let's just see how it's sounding.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
Okay, so at the end here, I notice I do want to pan these two clips a little bit of my inspector because he's standing on the right. So we're going to pan that over a little bit.
Come and take it.
And then when we cut back to the clip of this guy, I think I want to fade these down. So I'm going to pull that back a little bit. We're going to fade it out. And I want to bring in the sound of the good guy's lightsaber. So we're going to grab the part that we copied. I'm going to copy it over again using Option or Alt. Click, hold, and drag. So that's where he comes in. And I'm just going to extend this out a little bit and fade it in. And then this is panned to the left a little bit, so I like that. All right, so then they go and they fight, and that's kind of cool. I like that. Next thing I think we want to do here is add in some footsteps of them running, right? So we're going to go ahead and add in yet another track here. Add a track. And then don't be afraid to use a lot of sound effects tracks. It's okay to have tons of them and then be able to work with them however you want. Resolve lets you have like thousands of them. So don't be afraid to add them in there. Just stay organized so you know what's on what track. So I'm going to call this SFX running. We do have a running sound effect right here. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and hit an in point. And we'll just say an out point just to grab a little clip. I'm going to drop it in here. And again, this is a mono clip. So let's zoom in here and let's decide how we want to handle this. So I think I'm going to do two different running clips, right? We're going to have one that's the good guy, one that's the bad guy. So the good guy, let's boost him up. Let's just call this running good. And then I'm going to make another track, stereo. We're going to call this SFX running bad for the bad guy. So I am going to come and make it a stereo clip. I'm going to right click on there, come down to clip attributes, change it to stereo, change our source to embedded 1. And I'm going to back the clip up just a little bit, extend it out until, let's see, until we hear the crash, which is right there. And they're going to be in the air right here, so I'm actually going to just fade that out. Let's see how that sounds. All right, not too bad. Boost it up a little. I'm going to copy that down into the bad guy track. Now, on the bad guy track, I'm going to make it sound a little bit heavier, right? So I'm going to actually select my track, select my clip rather, come to pitch in the inspector right here, make it a little bit lower pitch. Let's hear how that sounds. And while I do that, I think I want to boost up the bass a little bit. I don't know. Let's try it. We're going to turn on our EQ. I'm just going to grab, we'll grab band 2. I'm going to change it to bell curve. Now I'm using the one in the inspector here. You can use the one in the mixer or the EQ right here in the inspector for something like this. It's perfectly fine. And I'm just going to loop this actually so I can hear it and see where the bass sound is coming from, what frequency. And hopefully we'll be able to boost it up a little. Let's see what we got. Okay, for some reason it seems like it's not doing anything on this particular clip, so I'm going to go ahead and use the one in the mixer here and see if that makes a difference. I'm not sure why, we're having some issues there. Sometimes that happens. So I'm going to come to the EQ in the mixer here for our track, play through it. All right, it just adds a little bit. I don't know. Is it necessary? No, not really, but it kind of adds a little bit there. So I'm going to just do it. So let's hear how these two tracks sound together. And I'm actually going to pan them too. So for the footsteps of this guy, I'm going to pan it to the left. And for the pan of the bad guy, pan him to the right. And I might offset them just a little bit because I feel like they're offset a little bit. All right, let's hear it all together, see what it sounds like. All right, so I feel like the impact there, we want to make that a little bit deeper there. See how it sounds. All right, kind of cool. I think it's coming along. Not too bad, not too bad. All right, let's see what other sound effects we have here in our media pool that we might be able to make use of. So we've got the farmlands, we did the flyby, Sith attack, light up, the VO, voiceover, the impact, the lines. All right, I don't think we have any where they're actually swinging it in this particular scene that I've got. So let's watch through the scene again and think about what else could we add in here to make it sound kind of cool.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, not too bad. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. Now, one thing I did notice is I'd like to pan the dialogue, right? The dialogue tracks. I don't think we did that yet. And I'm going to do that. Close my inspector here in the mixer on my dialogue tracks. So the Sith, he always seems to be on the right-hand side of the screen. So I'm going to pan his dialogue just a little bit to the right. And I'm going to pan the Jedi just a little bit to the left.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Just a little bit. I mean, that may even be a little too much. Back it off just a little. And you can double click to open it up to be a little more precise with it. Kind of like that. I think that'll work. Looks pretty good. Let's throw in the music in there. We're going to turn that back up. So our music, we're going to bring it back up in our faders here a little.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, so it is coming along. Now, we've been at this for a little while here, and if you're sticking with me, props to you. You're learning a lot of good stuff here on how to put all the sound design together. So now that we've got the basics of everything in there and we've got it sounding pretty good, we're just going to look to fine tune things a little bit. Maybe add in some effects or something that just kind of creates, a little more interest here when it comes to the sound. So one thing that I do notice here is that I like the atmosphere sounds that we have, but I kind of want them to fluctuate a little bit, right? So we're going to get into something a little more advanced now. It's called automation, where we can make changes over time. So this is a little bit more advanced, but still something really cool that you can do when it comes to sound design here. So what I like to do is I want to put my two atmosphere soundtracks into a bus, kind of like we did with the TIE Fighters. I want to add them in together. So I'm going to come on up to Fairlight bus format. I'm going to go ahead and create a new bus. I'm going to call this Atmosphere. I'm going to make it a stereo bus. Change the color to whatever you want. Let's do pink, because why not? And again, I'm going to send these two tracks over to that bus. So we've got my Atmosphere. I'm going to change this. Going to go to Atmosphere, Atmosphere. And then on my Atmosphere bus, I'm going to scroll over so we can see that. I'm going to send that to my bus 1, which is my main output. So here's what I want to do. I want to be able to change the volume over time for the sound effects, because I think it could just add a little bit of something to our sound design here. So I'm going to close up my media pool. I'm going to pop my viewer back in here, and now we need to turn on our automation tools. Now, I've got a whole video on this if you want to check it out and learn a little more in depth about it, but we're going to go ahead and turn on our automation tools right here, as well as this guy right here. Now, all these different things, you can essentially kind of leave them where they're at to start with. If you want to know more about it, you can check out that other video. I'll link it above here, or just search my channel for audio automation. But I want to adjust the fader. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to make my tracks a little bit bigger, scroll down to my bus, and fader level is what I want to change. So I'm going to basically play back through my video here, and as I make changes to my fader on my bus, it's going to automatically record those changes for me. So I've selected fader level here. I'm going to go ahead and enable it to record right here. I see that it's red, and I know when I start out, I kind of want these sounds to be a little bit louder, so I'm going to boost this up. And then as we get into the scene, I'm going to lower them back a little and then have them go back up. It's similar to adding keyframes, only you can do it in real time and it'll record the changes for you. So check this out. Let's watch through and make some adjustments.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
Okay, so now we can see it recorded what I did with my faders here. So now if I play it back, and you watch my fader over here, it's automatically doing what I was doing while it was recording. So it's kind of cool. It's just going to, you know, allow the music and stuff to kind of ebb and flow a little bit, right? And maybe we even want to do that with our music track too, right? We could, work with it in adding keyframes and doing all that stuff, or we could just use some automation here. So let's just try it on our music track. So I'm going to come down, and it automatically disables the recording once you stop recording. So I'm going to come on up here to my music track. I'm going to come to fader level. I'm going to hit record, come back to the beginning. And now I'm going to use my fader on the music track here to make any adjustments that I want over time while we play back the video.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
So kind of cool there. Here's, you can see what I did. And even if I just mute it and I play it back a little bit faster here, right? We can see the fader moving, and my changes have been recorded just to make it sound a little different and build in a little bit of movement into that audio. Really, really cool stuff. I'm going to leave it at the basics for the automation right now, but really cool, just so you guys know that that's something really cool you can play with here and work with in working with your audio. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my automation tools because I think that's cool, and I'm happy with that. So looking back at what else we have to work with here, I thought one thing that'd be cool is if we could add in a sound from what we've already got with him flipping his hood. So if I come back here, we see he flips his hood open there. Now, I thought maybe we could use something from the wetlands, farmlands, atmosphere sound effect. So I'm going to come down, add in yet another track here, right click, add a track stereo. I'm going to call this SFX hood. And let's just say with this farmlands impact here, I'm going to set an in point. Whoops. I'm going to click up here, set an in point. And an out point. And let's just see if we can make this into something. So right here, he starts to take his hood off, zoom in. Let's just try changing this to a mono track, actually. Oops, not a new track, but let's change track type to mono. Let's see what we got. I'm going to fade it in, fade it out, just as something to start with here. Oh, this is a little quick there. So starts here. Let's see. Oh, okay, that's already as loud as it'll go. reduce my fade a little. Now, if we have a clip like this where it's boosted all the way up, we can always boost it a little bit more in a bunch of different ways, right? You can't go any more here because it's already maxed out. And in our inspector, it's already maxed out. But what we can do is drop it back. Let's just reset it to 0 by double-clicking on volume. Close my inspector. We can use the fader to boost that up. Or if we just took any effect and dropped it on there that has a gain boost in it, we could also do that. Or actually, even another way is just to use the EQ to boost it up. So let's do that first. All right, we have our I can't even speak. SFX hood. We're going to come in here. I'm going to boost it up a little bit there. So we get a little boost there. I'm going to close that. We're going to also boost it up on the clip itself. And then I'm also going to come to my effects library, Fairlight Effects, and we're going to grab something we can throw on there. The multiband compressor, because I know this has a gain in it. So when it comes up, we have a gain knob right here. Don't worry about the rest of it. I'm just going to boost it up. Let's see how that sounds. All right, that's probably more than enough than we need, okay? So I'm going to close that down. Let's see if we could do what it looks like with the video here. All right, it's not quite as good as I'm hoping, but you know what? Let's unsolo and just see what we got. All right, it's a little too long. We're going to shorten it up. Zoom in on our timelines. It's still a little long, I think. Because there, it's already down. So, like, maybe they're there. Back it up a little. Put a little fade on there. A little fade. Maybe I'm going to make it a little bit lower in pitch. I'm going to go to the inspector. We're going to drop the pitch down. Yeah, I kind of like that. Drop it down there. Okay, I can even lower the volume just a little bit. All right, good. Let's go with that. All right, so I think this has sounded pretty good. Now, another cool thing that we can do that I just thought of while I was looking at the effects there is to add in a sound effect onto the Saber sounds. So let's come over here and where it's just kind of humming along. Right, I have an idea. Let's try and throw on an effect. So I'm going to open up my effects library and we have the chorus up here. Or the flanger, I'm sorry, the flanger. Let's drop that on there. And let's hear what this can do here. Let's do light space. Let's just see how this sounds. Hear how it changes it just a little bit? You can try any one of these. All right, definitely not the robo voice. Maybe light space. Big ambient. What's that? So I do kind of like the light space, but I also want to try the chorus. Let's put that on there. Put on the chorus. I'm going to make sure that if I come under my effects in my inspector here, that the flanger is turned off for right now. And I just want to see how the chorus sounds here. I kind of like that. The chorus is more what I'm thinking. So let me come back to my inspector here. I'm going to delete the flanger. Keep the chorus. Let's see what other presets we have here. Wide dialogue. I don't think that's what I want, but let's hear it. So here how it adds that little bit of undulation to the sound there. I kind of like that. Let's go dramatic. No, large. So hear the difference when it goes to the clip that doesn't have that? I like that. So I'm gonna go with that. And I think I might actually apply it onto the whole track. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete it off the clip. I'm going to close my effects library because instead of putting it on the clip itself, I'm going to put it on the track. So we have our Sith Saber, which is right here. We're going to come up to the top, effects, modulation, and we have chorus. And now it's applied on the entire track. Go ahead and pick large, and let's hear how that sounds. Kind of cool. Let's hear how it sounds in context with everything else.
Come and take it.
All right, you can't really hear it there too much. I think I need to actually boost that up and make it a little bit louder. So I can just come in my fader and boost it up a little. All right, so let's hear how this sounded.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, not bad. Now, on the impact here, I want to add in an echo out of that. So I'm going to come to my impact track, which is right here. We're going to click the plus. We're going to go to delay, Light FX echo. So that way it'll ring out for us. Let's just see how that sounds by default. To swirling close. That's it, swirling close, I like that. We're gonna go with that. Let's hear the ending. Feel like the music might be a little much there. Might actually just zoom in here and just bring it down a little bit. Even though we did do the automation on it, so I could go back and edit up the automation if I wanted to, or I could just lower the volume here a little bit. Bring that down. See how that sounds.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
Okay, now I notice I think I want the music to echo out as well. Now there's a few ways you can do it. I can't just drop the effect onto the clip because it's not gonna ring out and echo out. It'll just stop at the end of the clip. So what I'm gonna do is create a new track right below this, a stereo track. I'm gonna call this music delay. And now I'm just gonna find where I want it to start to echo out and make a cut and copy that part of the music track down onto the next track. So let's say right there, I'm gonna make a cut. I'm gonna hold Option or Alt, copy it down a track. And now on this track, I want it to delay out. And I can actually use, if I close my inspector, the same delay that I did on my impact track. So I can come to my echo. I'm gonna hold my Option or Alt key, click, hold, and drag it onto my music track. So I'm gonna come up here, music delay, drop. So let's see how that sounds. Then I'm going to go large haul here, make it wet. Solo C. So I'm going to extend out the delay time a little bit here because it's a little short. So boost that up. All right, I think that sounds pretty good. It kind of just adds a little bit of, echo in there to kind of help fade out the scene. So I think we're in a pretty good spot here. We're coming along nicely. Now I'm going to go back through, listen to it again, adjust a few levels, and then we're going to get into some final touches here as we kind of finish up our sound design. All right, so it's coming together. I think it sounded pretty good. Now, one of the things that can be helpful is if you have music underneath your video or your whatever clip that you're working on, if you turn off the music and see how the sound effects kind of work together, right? I think that was pretty interesting to do on this clip for me. I turned off the music, and as I play through it, I'm like, there could be some extra sounds in here, right? Because the music sometimes will drown out some of that stuff. So I actually lowered the volume of the music a little bit more, and I'm thinking I want to add in some extra TIE fighters while we're seeing the two guys, meeting each other, right? Because you're going to have other background noise. What if there's other TIE fighters flying around? So let's add in a few of those. So at the end of my tracks here, I'm going to add another track, stereo. We're going to call this TIE Fighter. So watching through a little bit here with no music. Oh, actually, I do have the music on. With no music. So I feel like here, there should be another TIE Fighter. Let's get one in there. So we got the flyby. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. And now I'm going to lower the volume down quite a bit because it's going to be off in the distance, right? And I am going to lower the pitch of it. So I'm going to open my inspector, drop the pitch back. Let's just see how that sounds.
You're late.
That's got to be sooner.
You're late.
Boost that up just a little bit. And I want to kind of pan it out to the right.
You're late.
So let's add in another track here, another TIE Fighter extra. We're going to call this extra 2. And I'm just going to copy this down. We're going to put it over here. So we hear another one in the background. This one I'm going to send off to the right. I'm sorry, to the left. Right, and we're going to even lower it down a little bit more.
You're late.
And then we can add another one here. I'm just going to copy this one, put it over here.
I'm here.
And we're going to change the sound of that one. Maybe we'll make that one sound a little closer, a little higher pitched. Pin it off to the right even more.
I'm here for the droid.
Going to lower the volume of that one because he's a little higher pitched, so it's competing with the dialogue just a little. Let's hear that whole little sequence there.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Okay, then we're back to this shot. I know it hangs there for a little, so let's add in another effect right here with the TIE fighters. Throw it right there.
Droid.
Come and take.
Maybe this one I'm going to put to the middle here. We'll throw it off to the left a little.
Come and take it.
All right, so I think that sounds good. Now, I also want to add that flanger effect onto the Jedi's lightsaber, if I can think of the word here, lightsaber. So we got the chorus here, we got the droid, Jedi lightsaber. So I'm just going to copy that over. Again, Option or Alt, click, hold, and drag the effect over, drop it on there. Let's just close up some of this stuff so we can see how it's sounding. Close our inspector, media pool.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
I really like the way that the chorus there gives that undulation feel to the lightsabers. I think that works out really well. Let's throw the music back on and see where we're at here. Music? All right, let's watch it in full and see how we're liking it.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, not bad. Let me hear the beginning again.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
You're late.
I can make this one a little bit louder here, just a little bit.
You're late.
I'm here. I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it. Come and take it.
All right, so this is sounding pretty cool. I'm liking it. Again, we could go on forever with this stuff, but we've got a good sound design going here, I think. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments below. And now we're going to get into some finishing touches real quick, just kind of rounding things out and finalizing our sound design here. Now, if you're working for somebody, you may need to deliver some dialogue, music, and sound effects buses as 3 individual tracks. You may need to do that, you may not, depends on your project. In this case, I don't need to do that, but I am going to show you a few finishing touches here that we can apply to our video here before it's all done and ready to go. So if I come in here, what I want to do is work on my main master bus a little bit. And what I want to do is, one, check my loudness levels for the platform I'm going to be delivering to. In this case, I'm going to use YouTube because that's where it's going to go. But if you're doing something like Netflix or a different platform, you want to check to see what those loudness levels and the requirements are. But what I like to do is just come into my main bus and start by just applying a very subtle little bit of EQ curve. So I'm going to take my band 4, I'm going to crank my Q factor way down, and I'm just going to make a little cut somewhere around here. I'm going to bring up the low end just a little bit, maybe around 250, bring up my 2, and bring up my highs just a little bit, just to add a little extra to round out everything all together. And I could do a quick little before and after here. Let's see what it sounds like, a little before and then after.
You're late.
All right, I think that sounds kind of good. Just adds just a little bit of something in there, just to sweeten it up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So in order to start looking at my loudness, which in this case is YouTube, and I want to meet -14 LUFS, which is the overall sound of all of the loudness together, I need to look at my loudness graph here in DaVinci Resolve. Now you can use the meters up here. I like to use the graph just because it's a little bit easier to look at. So in order to see it, what you need to do is come over here, toggle on your automation settings. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where I have my bus 1, and we need to make our tracks a little bigger. So I'm going to zoom in on my tracks. And when you zoom in enough, you're going to see loudness history. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Now I'm going to come all the way back to the beginning of my video, bring my playhead to the beginning here, and I need to tell Resolve what my target loudness levels are. So in this case, I'm going to come to my little loudness area here in the meters, click the drop down. I'm going to go YouTube. Then I'm going to hit reset and start, which is going to allow Resolve to take readings while I play back the video. And you can see over here, I've got -14 on my graph. Now you may see 0 because depending on how your settings are set, you may see 0 or -14, but they should be the same. If you want to change it, you can click the 3 little dots up here and go to check off absolute scale, and you're going to see now it's 0, and 0 represents -14 LUFS based on my settings. But I like to see it the other way, absolute scale. Just for me, it's a little bit clearer. So now I'm going to play through my video and see where the line gets plotted for our loudness. And you need to play through the video, let it go for a while, and then see where it falls. Okay, so far this looks good. What this tells me is that over time, my levels, my LUFS levels or loudness levels are around -20 or whatever. So we've got room to push them up a little bit. Doesn't look like anything's peaking because this green bar didn't show us any red. So what we can do just to make sure that we don't peak, right, is we can add in a few different things. We could add in a limiter if we wanted to. We could work with our dynamics a little bit. We could boost up our fader a little bit. So what I'm going to do is start by coming to my dynamics. I'm going to turn on the compressor and I'm going to bring this up, but I don't want it to peak. So I'm going to play through my track and I'm going to use the makeup slider to make it a little bit louder and make sure that we're not peaking. And if it does, the compressor should catch anything that might slip over, you know, our peaking level. So let's just see what we got here. Now, one thing to note with this, I'm just trying to catch those high levels, right? I'm just trying to catch the stuff that may accidentally slip over and peak, which we don't want. So that's what I'm looking for here, and that's why I'm only using the compressor a little bit. I am using the makeup to bring all the volume of everything up, and that's kind of how we're getting up closer to this minus 14 LUFS level right here, which is the maximum allowable for YouTube. And I'm also going to boost up my master fader a little bit, and that should be fine.
Late.
I'm here.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
Now you want to be careful you don't compress it too much, right? Now one thing I do notice is that it looks like we might be getting a little peaking going on when the sabers light up. So what I'm going to do is just throw on a compressor on those. So that way we're not going to peak. I'm just going to turn it on and leave it at its default, and we're going to see how that does. So let's see where we end up with those tracks.
You're late. You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it. You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it. Take it.
So it does look like we get a little bit of peaking at the end here, which I don't want. And I believe that is, I think it's my music. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and I'm going to turn off the automation so I can just drop down the music a little bit. Actually, I could on the music track throw on a compressor just to compress it when it gets too loud. Let's do that. See if that works there. So I can see we're still peaking right there. So that's not enough. Let's drop back the compressor a little more. Slight little peak there. Now, it may actually be that I boosted the bass on there. That could be what is pushing that music over the edge just a little bit. So we just adjust the EQ there. All right, I think that's good. We've kind of worked that out. Now, you always want to make sure that you're watching the meters, right? Use your ears, yes, but you got to watch the meters. The meters are going to tell you the accurate story. Because what if your speaker volume is up loud or not loud enough? It could be very different in your ears here. So it's you want to use your ears, yes, but you got to watch the meters and then check loudness with the loudness meters and just watch, make sure nothing's peaking and being too much over the top. Oh, and one more thing I think I want to add in actually on my dialogue is maybe like a little bit of reverb or something. I just think it would sound cool. So let's do that real quick. We're going to throw it on the track for the Jedi. I'm going to scroll up, go to Effects, come down to Reverb. Let's try a little reverb and just see how that sounds. I don't want anything too much, maybe a little plate.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Nope, that's no good.
I'm here for the droid. I'm here for the droid.
Nah, I don't like the reverb. That's not working. I might add in maybe just a touch of delay. Let's try that. Just like a little touch.
I'm here for the droid.
So we can Dial that back just a little bit. Wet dry mix there.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Kind of make it sounds like they're out in space a little. I like that. Now that we've got that, let's just copy that. Option or Alt, click, hold, and drag over onto our Sith. Let's just check this out.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.
Come and take it.
All right, I think that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Let's boost up the end of this music a little. All right, that is cool. I think it's working out awesome. What do you guys think? I'm going to play it at the end here in its entirety, finished with all of the sound design done here, once through full screen so you guys can watch it. Definitely head over to Casey's channel. Drop him a thank you for the files to be able to do this and create this sound design. I know this was a long video, but you guys got lots of tips and tricks on how to create a whole environment through sound design here with this cool Star Wars scene that Casey and his crew put together here. So check out the rest of the videos from Casey about this whole project. It's awesome. Casey, thank you for letting me get involved here, create a little sound design for you guys. And if you have questions, drop it down below. I'm happy to help you out. If you want to learn more about audio, you want to know the ins and outs of dialogue and sound effects and music and how to work with it in Resolve, I've got a full course, Audio Essentials for Video Editors in DaVinci Resolve. You can check that out if you're interested. And with that said, guys, I hope this was helpful. Would love to hear from you what you think. And with that said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.
You're late.
I'm here for the droid.